We're taking you to another inquiry. That's the State Capture Commission of Inquiry, where former acting Eskom boss Matshela Koko leaked classified documents from the troubled power utility. That's what we've heard this morning. That is the claim from Eskom board chair Jabu Mabuza. He's been back at the State Capture Inquiry in Parktown. Today is his second day, in fact, on the stand. My colleague, eNCA now anchor, Cathy Mohlahlana, is at the Commission. She joins us now live. Cathy, I mean, it's been a morning of dishing the dirt, truly. Jabu Mabuza giving us some scary insight into how these people who were privy to the inner workings of Eskom leaked it out to the Gupta family.
You're absolutely correct, Michelle. And we're also getting details of how exactly this web operated, because it was about Matshela Koko making information that was supposed to be classified available to the likes of Salim Essa, who some have gone as far as calling a Gupta lieutenant, so that certain opportunities could be made available to different individuals. But we've also heard about the former head of legal, Suzanne Daniels, and the charges that she faced from Eskom, which ultimately saw her being kicked out of that organization. With me now is Financial Mail editor Sikonati Majanja, and of course he's no stranger to the story, and political analyst Karima Brown. Let me take you to them, Michelle. Sikonati, I think the one thing that we get to see very clearly, at least in the words of the current Eskom chair, is how this web existed, how exactly Trillian and Mackenzie got to be at the center of the state capture that was taking place in Eskom.
Thanks for the promotion, Cathy. A moment ago, I was the deputy editor of the Financial Mail. Yes, indeed, Jabu Mabuza just laid it out. He's reading from evidence Eskom obtained from emails of their former employees. He started by saying they had to go through a process where the High Court allowed them to access these emails. And obviously here he's talking about those from outside the organization, because those on company missions belong to Eskom. And he says we found these, and we found emails from Matshela Koko to a person they identified as Salim Essa. If you remember, many in the Gupta emails there was that titled so-called businessman, info portal at zoho.com. We did not know who that was. Eskom now says that is Salim Essa. Emails were sent by Anoj Singh, emails were sent by Suzanne Daniels, by Ben Ngubane, the chairman, to this businessman of confidential information in which businessman, this Salim Essa, made inputs and put this as Eskom's position. Eskom's executives only put the stamp of approval and put it on the letterhead and sent the documents back to Salim Essa and pretended this is Eskom's position. He started by Matshela Koko, coming with Suzanne Daniels and Anoj Singh, and last Ben Ngubane, accusing them all of the same thing. So the outcome for Suzanne Daniels was that she was dismissed after 4 charges, including those of disseminating confidential information to this businessman. Matshela Koko ran away an hour before his disciplinary hearing. He resigned immediately and didn't allow Eskom to make a finding on the 4 charges against him.
Karima, one of the big implications, of course, is that we're also seeing how the interference of external individuals like Salim Essa then become official Eskom business, and they get to act out their agenda. Speak to us about the implications of that interference, especially for a state-owned enterprise like Eskom.
I think it's important, Cathy, to remember that this Commission of Inquiry happens within the context of a political project called State Capture. This was the MO, not just at Eskom. This was the MO at Transnet, at SABC, at Alex Core, at Denal. You see the same thing happening, the same set of characters actually emerging as middlemen, as people who were doing business. And of course, they take their lead from, former cabinet ministers in sharing information with Gupta-linked people. It's Faith Mutambi who shared cabinet information with the Guptas. And so these people basically operated with the protection of former President Jacob Zuma and some of his inner circle and his coterie. And for me today, it was just a confirmation of what we've been reading in the Financial Mail, stories written by Sikunati and others in Amabungani, in Scorpio. This was Eskom now doing the work. The critical question for me now is that the law enforcement agencies have no excuse now. Eskom is actually presenting forensic evidence. This is not hearsay. These are actual communications between people. This is enough for an investigator to go knock on Salim Essa's door and say, Mr. Essa, we need to interview you. This is enough for these people to bring dockets and for the NPA to start arresting people. And I think that, for me, is the critical issues that are coming out of the Commission. It's not just the information anymore. It is what next. And what next means actual investigations and prosecutions.
And also really about how all of this has brought us to the current situation, because some of that 1.6 billion was supposed to go towards issues such as maintenance, and that never happened, and it explains part of the current problem.
It was diverted to help the Guptas buy optimum coal. The board, of course, we now know from Mr. Mabuza's evidence based on the forensic investigation Eskom conducted, that Salim Essa, Eric Wood, Mohammed Bobat, and Fahima Badat of regiments drafted resolutions for the board and said, you, Chairman Ben Ngubane, this is your position. And Eskom immediately went on and approved a round-robin resolution on the 1.6 billion rand, purporting it to be a guarantee for the purchase of coal by Tegeta Resources. In essence, that 1.6 billion rand was used to give comfort to Glencore that it could sell to the Guptas because they now have the money. This was Eskom's own money. You then have, in addition to that, the forensic investigation that Eskom has presented. There's just a lot of evidence. What we know, what Mabuza has now told us, confirming what we have been telling indeed the media, as Karima pointed out earlier, Daily Maverick, Business Day, Financial Mail, and the Sunday Times over the past 3 years, coming from the Gupta emails, which have now been certified here and accepted as evidence. What will the Hawks do? We shall wait and see. But you're talking about the money that had to be used for maintenance. It was deliberately diverted to the Guptas after the Guptas wrote for the board a round-robin resolution which says, you will give us the money for a guarantee, and Ben Ngubane and his board just rubber-stamped the thing and sent it back on an Eskom letterhead.
I think the other broadest thread that we can take from this is you look back to Angela Agrizi and all of that testimony we had about Bosasa, how exactly the procurement process is manipulated to favor certain individuals. And Karima, there's surely a conversation to be had around how then SOEs, even government departments, protect themselves going forward to ensure that things like this never happen again, because certainly as it stands, there are no guarantees that different people will capture different part of SOEs or even government departments.
Absolutely, Cathy. I think what you raise is a very important question. Mr. Mabuza, of course, in his closing statement told us there's a list of 15 people that would really be useful for the Commission to interview. And you know what was interesting about those names? Many of those names are not known to people generally. The names of Mosibeni Zizwani is known, the names of Lynn Brown is known, but these are functionaries in these organizations that are put there deliberately because the paperwork crosses their desks when the patronage networks have to operate. So there's layers beyond the big wigs that we need to also investigate, and a lot of them are still in these institutions. Pravin Gordhan said it as recently as a few days ago in the debate on the State of the Nation address, that there are still people in the organizations, and this is not just Eskom Eskom. This goes for the SABC. This goes for all the other organizations, people that benefited actively. And these are the people that are part of the fight back. Jabu Mabuza didn't have time to tell us about the media narrative that is being put out. We've seen people like Matshela Koko being brazen on Twitter. We've seen Brian Molefe coming out, presenting himself as an expert on how to run Eskom, that we could do nuclear without ever putting our treasury and our fiscus in danger. This is an absolute fight back campaign. These people are going nowhere, and the only reason why they're going nowhere, Cathy, is because they haven't been arrested yet. And so we really need to ask as South Africans, what are our law enforcement agencies doing? Because the evidence that are being submitted here is forensic evidence. This is not hearsay, and the police have enough to begin to actually go and knock on people's doors and go and arrest some people. Some people need to go to jail.
All right. Well, let me thank you both for your time this afternoon. And let's wrap it up there from the State Capture Commission of Inquiry for today. Of course, we are back here tomorrow, and we'll continue, Michelle, getting more evidence around how exactly the project of state capture was taking place within and beyond the walls of Eskom. Back to you.
Yeah, the scary testimony set to continue. Thanks very much for that. Cathy Mohlahlana live to us there from Parktown.